हेलो एंड वेलकम वंस अगेन टू बियॉन्ड द बाउंड्री और आप देख रहे हैं टीओआई स्पोर्ट्स पर हमारा ये शो एंड टुडे वी हैव ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ फॉर यू द चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी 2025 इज गो फाइनली द शेड्यूल दैट वी हैड बीन वेटिंग फॉर कितने महीने लग गए इस डिसीजन पर आने तक and finally the schedule has been announced, the decision has been made to have the tournament in Pakistan and UAE. And we'll talk about the schedule as well. Plus, we will be building up with the Boxing Day Test match, the fourth Test match between Australia and India. Rohit Sharma's press conference today, a lot more happening in the nets. Our reporter Sahil Malhotra is there, so we'll be talking about his report as well. We have a full house of panelists, so let's get them on the show. Joining us today, Nitin Nayak and Dwapayan Datta, and also Manuja Virappa and Saurabh Somani. So welcome all to the show. And let's get started immediately with the Champions Trophy. I mean, let's have the schedule on board, please. A lot of the matches are going to be happening in Pakistan. There you go. You can see the matches in pink, which are India's matches, which will be played in Dubai. And of course, India-Pakistan is also in Dubai on the 23rd of Feb. And then, of course, you have the semi-final one that is on 4th March. That is in Dubai. कि अगर इंडिया क्वालिफाई करता है तो ये सेमीफाइनल जो है दुबई में खेला जाएगा एंड द सेकंड सेमीफाइनल इज फॉर पाकिस्तान इफ पाकिस्तान क्वालिफाइज बिकॉज दे आर इन द सेम ग्रुप इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान सो दैट सेमीफाइनल विल हैपन इन लाहौर एंड देन देयर इज अ ट्रिपल एस्ट्रिक्स जो हमें ज्यादा देखने को नहीं मिलता है द ट्रिपल एस्ट्रिक्स इज दैट दैट्स द फाइनल. And if India qualifies, then the final will be played in Dubai and not in Lahore. So that's the big one. Whether Pakistan qualifies for that final or not. So let's get started on this. Let's get Nitin Nayak, your thoughts on this Champions Trophy schedule. Is it a good thing that this is happening this way? Like your thoughts. Let's get started.
Well, finally, the uncertainty is over. So,
Yeah.
for cricket fans, for sponsors,
Hmm.
for the broadcasters, at least now that there is some surety.
Hmm.
Although I do not know what will be the
Hmm.
plight of all those who handle cables and miles of cables when they have to shift between Pakistan and Dubai for the either
Hmm.
I or have been in either or scenario for the semi-final and the final. But I
Hmm.
feel, but whatever happens to the semi-final or the final, I think
Hmm.
for the broadcaster, the semi-final and the final and the Super Bowl of cricket is happening on the
Yeah.
23rd at Dubai.
Hmm.
So I think for everyone is happy.
Okay. Dobayan, your thoughts on this?
There's a little bouncer I can see that the 2nd March India play their third game and 4th
Hmm.
March is India's semi-final if they make it. So
Hmm.
there is only a
Hmm.
1 day's gap. So
Hmm.
there is a little bit of a googly
No, but they're
there.
all they also have a week's gap between India, Pakistan, and
Yeah,
India, New Zealand. वो एक
that
हफ्ता
is true,
दुबई
but
में अच्छे से छुट्टी
हाँ
मनाएंगे. They can
वो
they
तो
can roam
है
the
पर
streets. It's good weather in
yeah,
Dubai at that point of time.
true. But yeah, but for a 100 over game, the 1 day
Hmm.
gap is
Hmm.
slightly tricky. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Okay.
otherwise fine. It's good. Like it's a
Hmm.
nice group, nice easy group. First two matches should ensure India goes through, and
Hmm.
it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, it's a very interesting thing you say. Nice, easy group. We have Bangladesh and Pakistan, and then we have New Zealand. Um, you're saying the Pakistan Bangladesh game, they are the easy ones for us.
Yeah. Those two are the easy games. Yeah.
इतना कॉन्फिडेंस कहाँ से लाते हो? ये ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट ये जो सिचुएशन है ये मनुजा की होती है ज्यादातर.
नहीं but
ये ज्यादातर.
बांग्लादेश
Yeah,
और
go ahead.
पाकिस्तान से अभी डरने का तो like India is better than them. Like it's very
Is it
simple.
Dwapayan or is it Virender Sehwag on the show today? कि बांग्लादेश से डरने का जरूरत नहीं है and all of that. Okay, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. The first two games should be easy for India, quite easy. But again, with Pakistan, you can never say. Manuja, your thoughts? I mean, the rest is there and fine. And talking about Nitin, what Nitin said, कि वो, you're gonna have two different sets of broadcasting teams. One that will be operating in Dubai and the other operating in Pakistan, Lahore, Karachi, etc. So this solution, because let's be honest, this solution now extends to other tournaments as well. So we also need to talk about that. How do you see that?
I think this is something that should have been decided 2 months ago to avoid all this ambiguity. 2 months before a tournament, we finally less than 2 months, 59 days.
Yeah.
The 60
Yeah.
days. Okay.
Hmm.
Before you're actually putting out the list, uh,
Hmm.
it's, I think, the par for the course where you say that
Yeah.
you are going to have a hybrid model going forward
Hmm.
between India and Pakistan. But
Hmm.
I, I mean, I see it tournament wise. Yes, we
Okay.
see it
Yeah.
happening with Champions Trophy. The
Yeah.
next tournament is a new tournament, a new beginning. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't put it past the powerhouses to change the equations.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not a contract, but PCB wanted a contract, कि a contractual agreement ho. Let's get Saurabh in on in this as well. The groups are there: Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Australia, England, South Africa. Either Afghanistan is going to win that group, or it's going to be a very tough ride for them. Saurabh, your thoughts?
No, no, I don't think they'll win that group, but yeah, it'll be a tough ride for them for sure. It does look
Hmm.
like the tougher group, though, just based on those teams. Each one of them is capable of beating the other, with 50-50 chance almost, at least Australia, England, South Africa. And
Hmm.
Pakistan, वैसे they are playing quite well against South Africa right now. But I agree with what Dwaipayan said, that they are definitely the stronger team when you
Hmm.
compare them to Pakistan. But like you said, I think you can't take Pakistan lightly in this. It's a one-day match. Something turns up, somebody turns up. Last match of the Champions Trophy was the India-Pakistan final in 2017, and we know what happened there.
Yeah, I was there for that game. I was doing commentary for Talksport on that game, and it was not a game that anybody, the way it progressed, not many thought. And again, the conditions are very, very different. उससे पहले बर्मिंघम में इंडिया पाकिस्तान हुआ था. Again, the conditions were very rainy that day. That was a very enjoyable day of cricket. It's always great to see Nitin when both sets of fans come together. But as Manuja said, जो आने वाली tournaments हैं, we don't think it is set in stone just yet. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think we'll have these discussions, debates, fan
Hmm.
wars on Twitter
Hmm. Hmm.
when the next set of ICC tournaments will happen.
Hmm.
So it's great news for content creators, but I don't think
Yeah. Yeah.
it's ideal for the tournament, for the sponsors. I think there should be more clarity when you're handling a global event like this, because it reflects very poorly on the stakeholders otherwise.
We are also content creators now. Let's
Yeah,
be a little
yeah.
kind. Think we are also content creators. It adds, look, it's a discussion point because it's about the game, right? It's talking about the game, and it's making sure that whatever is important to the game is talked about. I don't think there's any issue with that. What I will say is, I don't know where you guys stand. I am not very happy with the solution, because why should India? Because आप ये देखो कि इंडिया के पास जो अगले दो contests हैं, especially the Women's World Cup, which is supposed to be all in India, and then of course you have the India Sri Lanka tournament where you are hosting the 26 T20 World Cup. Uh, from an Indian fan perspective, I'm not really very happy with that one. Dopayan and Manuja, your thoughts on this?
No, India. If India demands so much, they will have to give a bit also. So,
Hmm.
as far as I am concerned, it's fine. Like because
Okay.
it is their doing that they are choosing not to go to Pakistan. So,
Hmm.
there has to be a solution. There has to be something that they have to give. So, it's
Hmm.
fine. And the
Hmm.
women's World Cup, I don't think won't be a problem because India will be happily going there. But once it comes to the T20 World Cup, men's T20 World Cup, then again India can start that chatter that whether they want to have the final, if in Pakistan makes, they want to have it in India or whatever. So there will be that
Hmm.
chatter if even if the hybrid model is followed. So yeah, but there was no other solution to it once India did what they did.
Okay, the Women's World Cup, just to correct Dopayan, is going to be in India. So usme
Yeah,
Sri Lanka might be the neutral territory, but the T20 World Cup, as you mentioned, 2026, that is going to be India and Sri Lanka. So the India-Pakistan match for that, the news that's coming in so far is that the India-Pakistan match could be penciled in for Colombo, and then maybe the final in Colombo as well if Pakistan qualifies. But again, it's too far. Manuja, your thoughts on this solution?
Uh, I mean, I'm glad finally Pakistan is actually, waking up
Hmm.
and taking a firm stand. Uh, as
Hmm.
much as we understand the situation of why the Indians will not travel to Pakistan, which is quite understandable given our volatile relationships, if
Hmm.
there has to be a common ground, I think that common ground has to be for both. I mean, if it's a common ground, then it has to be two parties involved. It can't be that Pakistan makes the compromise all the time. We've seen that
Hmm.
happen before.
Hmm.
And I think, going forward, even if we're going to have this neutral venue thing, I think, if I'm not wrong, that's only going to be for the Women's T20 World Cup, because the 26 World Cup is co-host, right? Sri Lanka are co-host, if I'm not wrong.
No, yes. So that makes things easier. That makes things
Yeah.
easier in the sense that Pakistan can play its matches in Sri Lanka, but at the end of the day, India or Sri Lanka में वो distribute होगा कि where the semi-final is going to be and the final is going to be, and it seems like the final for now was supposed to be in India, but we also have to remember the last time Sri Lanka and India co-hosted an ICC tournament, that was 2011 World Cup, and then the final happened in India, and India and Sri Lanka had a semi-final each. So this time, since India and Sri Lanka are co-hosting a tournament, it could be that the final could be in Sri Lanka as well. So again, it's too far off. We'll have to
Yeah.
wait and watch how the powers decide that particular variation or that particular variable. But once again, let's take a look at the
Also, I
groups
think
and
in
see.
terms of
Yeah, yeah, go
a
ahead. Yeah.
broadcast, yeah, in terms of a broadcaster's point of view, I'm sure they are going to come up with some plans. No, I mean, in terms of the logistics and the finances involved in it, obviously those dynamics also will change since it's not a one-off thing.
Look, so what happens in broadcasting is that you have a different team for every venue. So, for example, let's take the example of the Champions Trophy now. तो क्या होगा कि पाकिस्तान के लिए you'll have two sets of teams because it's distributed between Lahore and Karachi. Can we have the schedule on screen, please? So you have different cities of Pakistan. So couple of cities will be clubbed together, and the third city and etc. So ऐसे करके होता है. So you have Rawalpindi and Lahore. They are quite close by. So you'll have one team which will be operating in Lahore and Rawalpindi, and then you'll have Karachi ke liye, you'll have a separate team. And when I say team, it's a team of broadcasters, which includes the commentators, your uh, uh, your your uh, your crew, your entire crew. As Nitin was saying, the people who lay down the cables and the wires, etc. So your traveling crew is also divided into different teams. और दुबई में आपका एक completely different set होगा team का, right? And there is a sufficient gap between particular matches. For example, जो इंडिया का सेमीफाइनल है और फाइनल है, if India reaches the final, then you would want a couple of Indian commentators to be there for the final. So your entourage can travel between Pakistan and UAE. There's sufficient gap for that. So usually during a tournament, that's what happens. But you're right. From a broadcaster's perspective, it also needs to make sense. But yeah, I mean the 25 and 26 tournaments are a bit far away, so we'll wait and watch. Um, but let's but the good news from a cricketing perspective, from a fan's perspective, is that the tournament is happening. Nitin, the tournament is still happening in ODI format. Is that the best news?
Yeah, it's. I was fearing that they may just succumb to broadcast pressure since the broadcaster is already, it seems, bleeding. That they may, because I was hearing quite a lot of chatter about the Champions Trophy being converted to a T20 format. Already we
Hmm.
have a T20 World Cup every 2 years. So another
Hmm.
T20 global event would have been a bit too much already in an era where there seems to be a surfeit of T20 tournaments everywhere. So
Hmm.
I just hope like it happened during the T20 World Cup in 2021 that
Hmm.
due does not play a major role because all of India's matches, I think, or most of the games, I think, were won by the side chasing in that tournament.
Hmm. Hmm.
I hope due does not play a big role in Dubai in March Feb. I mean, I've not covered cricket there, so I don't know what the situation is
Hmm.
at that time of the year. But but I hope that due does not play a part. And last time India were in a group in an ICC tournament with New Zealand and Pakistan. That was the T20 World Cup in 2021. We did not qualify for the semis, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, and that's why I was a little surprised when Dopayan said कि बहुत easy होने वाला है because UAE and there was the women's T20 World Cup last year there as well. The
Yeah,
last women's T20 World Cup there was there as well, and it wasn't really good for India. So UAE and India, not last year, this year only. UAE and India and ICC events, Dopayan, they don't really mix well. So do you want to recalculate your statement?
No, I not exactly, because this Indian white ball team
Hmm.
on these conditions with the team that is playing now, and you add Rishabh Pant and Jasprit Bumrah and Yashasvi Jaiswal to it, it's too much
Hmm.
of a team for the
Hmm.
first two teams at least. Like, yes,
Hmm.
Pakistan is good. It's a kind of a bit of a
Hmm.
tough game, because if they lose, then the New Zealand games becomes a must win.
Hmm.
So in a way, it is interesting. It's an
Hmm.
interesting game, interesting setup, but India is an overwhelming favorite, uh, given the quality of the players that they have at this
Hmm.
moment.
Okay, I'm not sure about this comment, but I'm not sure about the lucky draw part, but I'll say this for a fact that the broadcaster contract does say that India and Pakistan have to be in the same group. That's the broadcaster contract with the ICC. So, uske alawa, I'm not sure what really happens. Manuja and Saurabh, question to you. Does this tournament help with the relevance uh, of ODI cricket? Will it help with the relevance of ODI cricket, this particular tournament? Manuja, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, considering we play so many meaningless bilateral series ever so often,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
when you have 8 teams in play, there's also a sense of competition and relevance.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like we were speaking about it yesterday as well, where the tri series and the quadrangular series. This kind of add some charm to 50 overs cricket, the ODIs. Otherwise, ODIs in a bilateral series is quite drab and dull.
Hmm.
But yeah, I
Okay,
think Champions
Saurabh, your
Trophy is
thoughts?
the same.
Hmm.
I
Okay,
think
yeah, Saurabh, your thoughts? Yeah.
yeah, I think good ODIs are actually really great to watch. We all remember a lot of classic ODIs. It's not the same with T20s. Obviously, Test matches we'll all remember, but good ODI cricket gives that little bit of space for battle between bat and ball, which you don't often get in T20 cricket. So a good ODI is sort of caters to everybody, and I hope the Nitin I think mentioned very importantly that the dew, I hope it's not as much of a factor as it was. Although the time of the year is different, so I think that could make a difference with the dew. That time I think was in November, October, November. So now hopefully the dew will be less. If there is less dew and there is an equal battle between bat and ball and the pitches are decent, I think it'll be great for ODI cricket. But of course, this tournament exists because you want. I mean, it's a tournament that is there for the big teams in ODI cricket to play, and it's a money spinner for the ICC. Let's be honest, it's a money spinner. It brings in because of the nature of the tournament, there are all big matches. The context is important, as Manuja was saying, that every match has context. There is a goal that you're playing for. It's not a bilateral, so it does make a difference, I think. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the pitches and all, and dew and all, I mean, February should be a little cooler than, let's say, September, October, or even October, November, when the last T20 World Cup was happening there, 21 May.
Hmm.
So it is the time when it's a little cooler in the UAE, so dew could be a factor, definitely. I remember if I'm not wrong, October, November, maybe there was an issue with the dew when India were playing
Yeah.
against Pakistan, and the pitches, the pitches in UAE, Nitin, it's becoming a big factor. It's becoming a big question mark. We just had the T10, right? We've had a series of matches this year already. Afghanistan played a lot of cricket over there. We're going to have the ILT20 there starting January. वो एक महीना पहले शुरू होगा चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी से. I think it's starting on January 9th or 12th or something like that. and it's going to end around February 9th or 10th, a week before the ICC tournament. And they're going to be using the Dubai Stadium. They're going to be using Abu Dhabi and Sharjah as well. So the Dubai pitches will see a lot of wear and tear already. And this is a common complaint against the UAE pitches that they can get a lot, they can get really tired. Do you think that's going to be a factor for this tournament, for India's matches?
I hope not. I hope that the squares that are generally laid out there are
Hmm.
rotated often
Hmm.
during the ILT20, and and the curators there get enough time to prepare,
Hmm. Hmm.
because if if it's going to be a 160 170 kind of totals
Hmm.
game, then there'll
Hmm.
be a bit of a killjoy. So I don't want. I mean, I neither do I want a 330 plays 315. I
Yeah.
I would love it if it's a 240 to 260 chase and the
Hmm.
team gets
Hmm.
there in the 49th or the 50th over, and those kind of games are
Hmm.
fun to watch. We saw that. I mean, one of my favorite World Cup 2023 memory is the India England game at Lucknow. India made 220
Yes.
and then had the bowling to dismiss England. So
Hmm.
and Rohit
Yeah.
kind of brought his test game to a one day
Hmm.
game, and
Hmm.
played a significant knock. So I hope that the pitches are decent,
Hmm.
um, and they give you a 250, 250 270 plays a 240 250 chase.
Yeah, I think that's ODIs when they are close, they are brilliant to watch. When both teams, when the ball does something really,
Yeah.
they're brilliant to watch. We had a comment there. Uh, let's talk about that comment. Avad Agarwal ka comment. I think he was already predicting the semi-finals, and we'll take a cue from there. Let's predict our semi-finals. Let's have the group again on the screen. Let's start with the prediction. Nitin, you were the last one to answer, so let's start with your prediction. Name your four semi-finalists. And ये वीडियो रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है तो डोंट बाजा ठीक है अवध सेज इंडिया पाकिस्तान ऑस्ट्रेलिया he says Afghanistan or South Africa. I'm very happy that he's putting Afghanistan in there, because it's a group of
Yeah.
death. If
Yeah.
the pitches, Pakistan pitches can be highways, and I'm expecting highways through the tournament. But if there is turn, Afghanistan could have a thing or two to say. किरण कुमार कह रहे हैं my top four semis are India, New Zealand, Australia, Afghanistan, Pakistan को बाय बाय कर दिया. सच्चा हिंदुस्तानी है ये. India, New Zealand, Australia, Afghanistan. Look, he has Afghanistan as well. पाकिस्तान को अपनी ही टीम से अपनी ही टूर्नामेंट से बाहर कर दिया किरण कुमार ने. Okay, Nitin, you start. Four semi-finalists, and then we'll get the rest of them.
India, Pakistan,
Hmm.
and South Africa, Australia.
South Africa, Australia. Yeah, okay, that's done. That's doable. Okay, Dopayan.
Yeah, India, Pakistan, Australia, South Africa. But because he has said Australia, South Africa, so I'll say England. Maybe Australia and England. Just not to repeat what Nitin
Just to
has
be,
said.
you can
Just to be
repeat. I mean,
different.
that means they are good teams, and South Africa is a good team. Manuja, I mean,
Yeah.
they've reached the semi and the final of the last men's, and I believe they have a very good core. And let's not forget they're the semi-finalists in the last ODI World Cup. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I personally believe South Africa are on the rise, and I we might see them winning an ICC tournament in the next 2-3 years. Your thoughts?
India, Pakistan, Australia, England.
ले मैं अभी साउथ अफ्रीका की तारीफ कर रहा हूँ शी इज जस्ट ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट एज एवर राइट सौरभ योर थॉट्स
Yeah, I'll go with India, Pakistan, Australia, South Africa. I'm going
okay
with South Africa over England. Yeah.
okay so I think I would also see India, Pakistan, Australia and South Africa, but again South Africa can be a little weird about it. um my only thing is ki Pakistan, the only New Zealand are a good side, but are New Zealand playing like the New Zealand we knew from the last few years ago? Nitin and Dwapayan, this question is for you. We'll take sports fans question. I think selection be important here. We'll take that question in just a bit. That'll be the last question on Champions Trophy before we move on to the Boxing Day test. But New Zealand over the last 4-5 years haven't really been New Zealand, or 4-5 tournaments. उनका जो एक टाइम पीरियड था, आई थिंक वो 21 के आसपास खत्म हो गया था, 22 के आसपास खत्म हो गया. सो द लास्ट 4-5 tournaments, and I'm talking about the women's tournament as well. I think they did well with the T20 World Cup, but the men's team, I'm not so sure. Are they at the peak of their game now? That's why I'm not sure if they will be able to make it through. Nitin and Dwapayan, your thoughts? New Zealand, are they good enough right now to say, okay, Pakistan? I'm not sure about India game. India New Zealand will be a very, I think it will be a clutch game. But if India has already won against Bangladesh and Pakistan, then New Zealand के लिए वो थोड़ा सा do or die game हो जाएगा. So are New Zealand good enough to progress ahead of India or Pakistan? Let's not take them lightly. हमने अभी lightly लिया था तो वो 3-0 हो गया था. Let's not take them lightly. But are New Zealand the same force in ICC tournaments that they were for the last 4-5 years?
The bowling depth kind of worries me a bit. If you're a Kiwi supporter, with Tim Southee now retiring and one half of the Bolt Southee partnership being broken, and even Bolt I think now has become more of a T20 bowler.
Yeah.
In one-day cricket, in English conditions and in New Zealand conditions, he's still an excellent bowler. But in the subcontinent, I think that kind of length that he bowls, he generally goes for runs. I I also like. I mean, I'm sorry to digress a little bit. I like the way South Africa are playing their cards there. They are not really fielding their full strength side in these tournaments against Pakistan
Yeah,
and
yeah,
in
yeah.
both. And they are kind of focusing more on the World Test Championships. Although they had their Rabadas and the Markrams in the series against Pakistan, but I don't think they are showing all their cards. So
Yeah.
I think I think that they are one team that plays well in the subcontinent in the limited over series. So
Okay.
so I think that they'll do well. So New Zealand, the bowling worries me.
Okay. Dopayan, your thoughts on New Zealand, and also Indrajit said that comment that we are discounting Afghanistan. I mean, we're not discounting Afghanistan, especially me. मैंने बोला लोगों को pick करो अफगानिस्तान को सेमीफाइनल के लिए, but no नहीं मानते मेरी बात. They are highly likely to reach semis considering Dubai and Pakistan. I mean, they're not playing in Dubai unless they make the semis and they finish second in the group. But definitely, Pakistan, this could be a big element. Dopayan, your thoughts on New Zealand and then on Afghanistan, if you want to add something.
Every time you ask me to tell on an issue after Nitin, I get stuck because I was also about to more or less say the same thing.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
so sorry.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll change the
You must
rotation.
change
Next
the order.
time, next time
Yes.
DD has the first go. Okay, next time DD has the
Yeah,
first
okay.
go.
No, but
Okay,
yes,
okay.
New Zealand's because their bowling lacks depth, and I think to be successful in Dubai in those parts, you need a good spin attack. So that spin attack also is probably not that good for New Zealand. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, they have a fantastic spin attack. It is their team is built on that spin attack. Their worry is their batting. If their batting sometimes lacks the firepower, that is where they can there is a chance of them faltering. Otherwise, Afghanistan is a good team because of their spin attack, and New Zealand is probably not that good because they do not have enough depth in their spin, which is absolutely crucial in subcontinent and Dubai, etc. Those
Okay, let's take one final comment on the Champions Trophy. वो जो comment आया था sports fan का, let's take that. Yashasvi Jaiswal, come on, he has to go. एक ही comment लेंगे हम selection के ऊपर, but he has to make his ODI bow. And I think given Rohit Sharma's form, you never know what's really going to happen. He could walk away after the Australia series. We'll be discussing a bit on that. But Yashasvi Jaiswal as third opener for the Champions Trophy, who says no? Let's start with Manuja.
I say yes.
You say yes, okay. I
I
mean,
say
मेरा
yes.
कहने मतलब yeah, I'm glad you got my question right. Basically, it's the question is
Yeah,
more like it's high time that he is in the ODI
yeah.
arena as well, right?
I think, yeah, he has proven credentials, and it's time you rein him into ODIs. Yeah, I think
Okay, Saurabh.
it's coming a little late.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
Saurabh.
definitely. I think he should be there in the squad. Uh, Yashasvi Jaiswal, I think with certainty we can say he's going to play at the 2027 World Cup. a 2025 Champions Trophy, it depends on what I think Rohit Sharma decides to do. But he'll
Hmm.
be in the squad for sure. I mean, he should be. If
Hmm.
he's not, it'll be a bit of a surprise.
Okay, let's on that note, let's go to the Boxing Day test match
Just one
because that
thing,
is probably
Chetan,
yeah,
just
yeah. Go
one
ahead,
comment.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
for
Yeah.
Yashasvi Jaiswal, as far as I am concerned, he is India number one opener, even in ODIs. Not three, one. He should be the,
Hmm.
like, I don't know who
Yeah, I
else.
agree with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dupayan, but the fact of the matter is if Rohit Sharma continues to play and then they're going to look at Shubman Gill as well. So हाँ ये जरूर होगा कि they'll think कि let's bring in the lefty righty combination. Yeah, that could
Our
really help Yashasvi's case.
current form, quality, everything. Like, even if you do not
Hmm.
take lefty righty into
Hmm.
consideration.
Hmm. Okay. A lot of that is going to be answered with what really happens with this Australia series. So let's shift our focus because Boxing Day Test match is 48 hours away. We just love the Boxing Day Test match, don't we? I mean, Melbourne, MCG. It's my favorite ground, and I got locked up in 2014. I got locked up in the MCG. That can be really scary, being alone on Christmas Eve at the MCG. I was working late, as per the Indian time, of course, but uh, yeah, but it's amazing when it's full. It's amazing when it's empty, and we are expecting a full house. This is going to be a Boxing Day test like no other. Apparently, it's sold out day one. So let's talk about what the issues that India is facing currently going into this test match. Um, of course, the batting lineup. Let's focus on that. But before that, let's see what Rohit Sharma said. He had his pre-match presser today. Let's see what he said about a couple of pointers. We'll discuss that in length tomorrow when we have the preview show. But relevant to today's show because the focus will be on India's batting. Virat Kohli is a modern day great. He will figure it out. I think everybody agrees to it. Modern day greats will figure out their way. You know the path said with a smile when he was asked about Virat Kohli's habit of chasing deliveries outside off stump. Not a word less, not a word more, but there was an underlying sense of assurance that Kohli will himself find his way. The story is written by our own Sahil Malhotra. He's covering the series for TOI there. Uh, Nitin, oh, let's start with Dopayan. First question to Dopayan. Okay. Um, Dopayan, yes, he's a modern day great. There's no doubt about it, right? No doubt at all. But the question mark is in terms of his reflexes, his eye hand coordination, everything. Because इस age पे वो सारे question mark आते हैं. And watching him in the third test match, I personally believed if he's not able to figure out this off stump problem, whether he is or whether he's not able to, that is going to decide the length of his remaining test career. I think that is a very honest assessment. Do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts? If you want to add something, let's start with you.
I think the way things have gone for the past few months, past few years, not months,
Hmm.
it like, I do not know how two practice sessions will bring in a paradigm shift and he will become a
Hmm.
different player. And
Hmm.
Saurav a few days ago said a very interesting thing. He said that Virat Kohli is one player who cannot allow that outside the of stump line ball to let go of, because cover drive is his main, is not just his main shot, it is almost at times his only shot where his trigger movement is. So that it is very difficult for him to just let go of that shot, which Tendulkar could do in Sydney and succeed. So it is very difficult. The kind of pitches that they are giving, where there
Hmm.
is a lot of lateral movement, I do not
Hmm.
think against a new ball, if he is again has to face the new ball on a pitch with a
Hmm.
lot of movement, he will do anything great. I do not see it. But yes, if the openers get get there past the 30 overs, like he comes into bat
Hmm.
in the 40th over with 100
Hmm.
for 120 for 2, then it could
Hmm.
be a different game. Then it could be a different
Okay.
game. You can see a
Hmm.
50 plus score.
Okay. Okay. 2 points here that you've mentioned. We'll take them one by one. जो second point है वो बाद में लेंगे कि if the openers get a start. I disagree with the statement that you made कि उसका वो only shot है. I think वो only shot given the conditions because he has this tendency of getting onto the front foot a lot more in Australia than say he does in other places like say even South Africa or England. If you look at the way he bats in South Africa or England, he has that flick off his pads that goes through mid wicket, which is his release shot. Wahan pe he relies on that scoring shot more than even the cover drive. So it's in Australia where he has this tendency on being on the front foot, right?
Chetan, for that flick to come in, the ball has to come to his legs. That is the issue. So
True,
because
but
he's been
also he's
unable
not
to resist that shot, that's why the ball is not
because
coming
yeah,
onto his pad to play that flick shot.
because that and that's the problem. That's the problem with him that he is in Australia. He's been a tremendous front foot player. That is a major issue with Virat Kohli because he जो आप बात कह रहे हो, if you are waiting for the ball, ठीक है, if you're waiting for the ball, then there is a more chance कि आपको and of course Australia में जो natural length है, that is not that fuller. So that is why he's more on the front foot and trying to lean into that cover drive. But again, in the way he bats in South Africa and England, it's a lot different. Nitin, again, this offside problem. Modern day great, but do you see a solution coming out of it?
I sincerely don't have an issue if if he wants to play that cover drive. Only thing he shouldn't play it on the sixth or the seventh stump because that is a
Hmm.
shot that has given him the runs.
Hmm.
Um, but we also somewhere Chetan, I think uh, we have to look at the quality of bowling that these set of players are facing. You know,
Yeah.
why do they go for such shots? That's because there is just no release. There is no let up. You know, from any end or from whatever even if
Hmm.
it's the second or the third spell, the bowlers pitch it at an area or in an area which makes life uncomfortable for the player. So
Hmm.
there is just no let up. I mean, I know maybe I'm saying something controversial, probably even blasphemous over here. And pardon all the all the Tendulkar fans here. Please don't crucify
Hmm.
me. But
Hmm.
but you know after Brett Lee that Tendulkar faced in that Sydney inning,
Hmm.
look at the amount of deliveries that he faced of Nathan Bracken, of Steve Waugh, and of Simon Katich, and on that
No,
Sydney
look.
pitch. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
So
this is not taking away anything from that innings.
hmm.
To to give up a stroke requires a generous amount of ego swallowing, which he did. But I also feel that the quality of bowling that is on display here is causing some
Hmm.
of the errors that batsmen are making.
Okay. Okay. I'll come to that point, but I'll request the producer to play the comments a little longer so that we can discuss them. Okay. The Sydney point that you made is I'll agree with it and I'll not agree with both. The reason I will not agree with is क्योंकि ठीक है quality of bowling was very different and injuries and this and that you can only play the players who are against you. आप नहीं pick कर सकते ना कौन आपके against खेल रहा है या नहीं खेल रहा है, right? And Nathan Bracken and all of them, they had earned the right to represent Australia. Let's be very honest about it.
Of course, of course,
The
of
the
course.
the thing about Sachin Tendulkar's knock was that he was not picking and choosing किस bowler के against वो shot खेलना है या नहीं खेलना है. He was
Yeah,
not playing that shot for the entirety of that innings कि मैं नहीं खेलूंगा तो मैं नहीं खेलूंगा, right?
yeah,
It's not like
yeah,
he was not playing it against Brett Lee and Nathan Bracken and he was playing it off the spinners and all. वो spinners पे भी
yeah,
नहीं खेल रहा था.
yeah.
The only thing that I do agree with है कि Sydney में maybe you bowl a lot more fuller, yeah,
Yeah,
where you can play off your pads a little more than you can say you can in Perth, in Brisbane, or in Melbourne. The thing about Australia is that you have different lengths for every ground, right? 19-20 का difference रहता है, but Sydney में you bowl a little bit, not that much fuller, but just a little bit fuller than you do in Melbourne, Brisbane, or Perth. Um, so that's the only thing. यहाँ पे जो सवाल आप खड़ा कर रहे हो, that is about the patience. What Sachin did was more about his personal patience. आजकल ये Instagram पे भी reel चल रहा है where he is talking about कि it's my personal challenge about the patience. कि मैं वो शॉट नहीं खेलूंगा 2 दिन तक वो शॉट नहीं खेलूंगा. Let's see who's more patient. Are you more patient or am I more patient? And the reason he was able to do it because he had those other shots. Do we see that kind of patience from Virat Kohli? I think that is the biggest challenge. Let's get thoughts from Saurabh and then where's Manuja gone? Manuja's dropped out. Then we'll come back to Nitin and Vapayan. Saurabh, let's start with you.
Yeah, that patience is, I think, definitely a challenge for Virat Kohli. One bit of nuance that I think we should look at is, I don't think
Hmm.
Sachin Tendulkar didn't play the cover drive. He just decided he is not going to look for scoring opportunities from the cover drive and shots in that point to cover extra cover region. So if the ball was there, he was happy to defend it there, or pat it back. He was not looking for scoring opportunities in that region. And if Virat Kohli can incorporate that, which I think is going to be a more difficult challenge for him than it was for Sachin Tendulkar, without taking away from the absolutely great player that Virat Kohli has been, I think in some ways Sachin Tendulkar was a bit of a more complete batsman, which might not be a blasphemous thing to say. Virat Kohli is obviously an all-time great of the game, but Tendulkar was just a more complete batsman, and it's very few people who can sort of alter their technique on the fly in the middle of a series. Forget in the middle of a test or an innings. Tendulkar was one of the few who could do that. Like Dwaipan said that 2-3 net sessions, I don't know what will happen, which is true, because how much can you retool your game in just net sessions? You need to maybe go away, to take a bowling example. It was like maybe Mitchell Johnson before that 2013 season, where he went away. He sort of retooled his bowling action. He was out for months, and then he came back and became and had these insane 2 series, 3 series, whatever it was, before he again lost it with the tragedy of Philip Hughes. And but anyway, that's a digression. So I think it's very difficult to retool your technique in the middle of a series. So it is
Hmm.
going to be extremely challenging. It's going to be one of the toughest challenges of Virat Kohli's career. Also because of the bowling quality, because these guys don't give you
Hmm.
release balls, release spells, release overs. So it's going to be very difficult. Yeah, nothing is impossible, but it's going to be very difficult.
Hmm. Nitin, let's not even talk about in the in the short term. We're not even talking about the short term. अब तो बच्चे बच्चे को मालूम है कि ऑफ स्टंप का इशू है. इनफैक्ट जेम्स एंडरसन विल बी थिंकिंग कि मैंने एक साल पहले रिटायर क्यों ले लिया, मुझे एक साल पहले क्यों रिटायर होने को बोल दिया. Because we have 5 tests coming up in England, and England bowlers will be thinking, oh, thank God James Anderson is not there. Now is our chance to get Virat Kohli, right? My point here is, not forget this series. He already has 100 for this series, and nobody's going to drop him unless he says, like Ashwin, thank you, bye bye. That's not going to happen either. My point here is the length of his remaining test career is not just what happens in these two statements, in these two test matches, but overall across the next year or so. Can he make that adjustment to lengthen his test career? That for me is the pivotal question for Virat Kohli. And particularly because we have those 5 tests against England coming up. Because even if he scores runs here, somehow manages to find that solution, we might be talking, and that'll be great. But if he doesn't, 2 tests into England, we'll be having the same conversation. So your thoughts, Nitin, and then we'll take Vapayan. Sorry about that order, but yeah.
I think if he doesn't score runs over here, that right to play in England will be taken away out of his hands. I don't think
Okay.
he
Hmm.
will be given that choice to continue his career. I mean, especially if he fails very badly in both the games, um,
Okay.
because I
Despite
think
that Perth 100. Despite that
despite
Perth
that
100?
despite that Perth 100, yeah,
Okay.
despite that Perth 100,
Hmm.
because they will. Obviously, if he doesn't play well here and India don't qualify for WTC, they would like to
Hmm.
build a new team for the next cycle. So
Okay.
so then there's no point, because for these cricketers now, what are they playing for? They are not playing
Hmm.
for some random records or whatever. They are playing for titles. They're playing for the big prize.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
as Rahul Dravid said in that victory ceremony here in Mumbai, that now time to go for the WTC guys.
Hmm.
I think that is the one goal that both these players are after. Maybe the
Hmm.
Champions Trophy, but they've already won a Champions Trophy before and reached
Yeah.
the final of another. So
Hmm.
the WTC is what was motivating them, and if they don't qualify for this one, and lose either in
Okay.
Melbourne or in Sydney, and they don't make
Hmm.
it, then I don't see a point of carrying these two players in England, where again
Hmm.
the conditions will be very very bowling friendly with the
Yeah.
Duke ball. So instead of that, it's better to invest in a younger set of batters,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
even if you have to lose with them rather than lose
Hmm.
with these guys.
Hmm. Okay, before we move ahead, let's take on that graphic that we got made today in terms of the balls faced. Asad, can we have? I'll request our producer to have that graphic on the screen because this is a major talking point for me. Dopayan, look at what Cheteshwar Pujara did for the Indian team in those two tours, four test matches, 1,258 balls faced in 2019, 928 balls faced in 2021. He did not score as many runs. खत्म कर दिया वो खड़ा होके, right? That was the major talking point. Now you compare with what's happening now. KL Rahul 470, okay, but he's an opener and वो Perth के बाद he's not been able to up his game there. यशस्वी जायसवाल lot more attacking and Mitchell Stark ने अपना pace ऊपर कर दिया है, so he's having trouble there. Nitish Reddy, who bats at number 7, has faced more balls than Rishabh Pant, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and Shubman Gill. Shubman Gill, of course, two test matches. Rohit Sharma, again, two test matches. But look at that 65 balls Rohit Sharma has faced. Shubman Gill at number 3, 84 balls. That is unbelievable stat, especially if you compare with what Pujara did. And Virat Kohli, I think he faced 120 odd deliveries in that Perth 100, if I'm not mistaken. 120 or 130, something like that. So in the rest of the innings combined, he's faced what? 50 or 60 deliveries put together. So he's not even faced too many deliveries. वो 200 में से भी a chunk has come in one innings. So you can see where I'm going with this. Our batters are not playing enough deliveries, and there is your answer to whether Virat comes to bat at 10 for 2 or 100 for 1, right?
Exactly so. See, Cheteshwar Pujara, he was the like for me, he was the main player behind India winning those two test series. Like there were
Hmm.
other stars, other superstars who got the limelight. But had it not been for Cheteshwar Pujara, India wouldn't have won those two series. Like
Hmm.
in Australia, it is a game of the new ball, and he was
Hmm.
blunting the new ball day in day out through those
Hmm.
7 test matches, 3+4.
Hmm.
So Australian bowlers said that they were having nightmares about him. They just could not get him out. So,
Hmm.
and the problem is that when he
Hmm.
was doing that thing, there was a massive section of the Indian media and the Indian fans who are now crying for players who are not batting long enough, saying that
Hmm.
Cheteshwar Pujara has a horrible strike rate, yeah, that's something that should not come into equation in Test cricket. How many balls you
Hmm.
for a number 3 batter? It
Hmm.
was the regular topic of discussion in press conferences. Captains used to get asked, and as
Hmm.
far as I understand, the selection committee, when it came in, this new selection committee, they almost came in with the agenda to finish off Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara. They were just
True.
not given chances. Like Ajinkya
True.
Rahane was dropped on the basis of two failures in West Indies. Two failures in West Indies. He had
Hmm.
got an 80 and a 50, I think, in the WTC final. That guy
Yeah.
gets dropped for two failures. They were just not given chances. People have been ruthless with these two guys because they were the soft targets, and it's very
Yeah.
unfortunate. And that's what.
Yeah.
And now you are getting the results. Test cricket is
Hmm.
not always about strike rates. It is fine. It is
Hmm.
fun to have a quick strike rate of 60 ball 40, but there has to be players who can play differently, and India lacks that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is in the daylight. Like it,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Just before we move on, I mean, the current average of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma is, especially Virat Kohli for the last four years now, is lower than what Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara were dropped for. Let's be very honest about it. आप इस season में ही देख लो. And overall his average has dropped to 47. So that's something very disappointing. Saurabh, your thoughts on this issue where the Indian batters are not facing enough deliveries?
Yeah, I mean, that graphic spoke volumes, didn't it? You could see how Pujara not just blunted the ball, but also forced the Australian bowlers to come back for third spells, fourth spells,
Hmm.
and made it so much easier for everyone else who followed. And that is just not happening in the on this tour. And the other
Hmm.
side effect that this has is that because the batters are not scoring runs, or you don't have the confidence that they will, you can't strengthen the bowling attack. so now Jasprit Bumrah is carrying it alone. Others are having, if one fast bowler has an off day, like if Siraj is out of rhythm on one spell, you are left with nowhere to hide, nothing to defend. And a Travis Head like guy comes, the match goes away from you in a session. Whereas the earlier method, the formula that we had, India had, was with five bowlers. That worked because the five batsmen were getting runs. Now, if the five batsmen are not getting runs, you can't go in with five bowlers. But if you go in with five bowlers, it can make a big difference to the Australian total. I mean, the totals that
Hmm.
Australia get, which is
Hmm.
also not possible now because you have to cover for the lack of runs that are not there. So that's a huge issue. And yeah, I think like just going back to the earlier, it's patience. You just have to grind it out, and that is the only way to, I think,
Hmm.
achieve the success, especially against such a high quality bowling attack.
Nitin, any chance India can grind it out? I mean, just Jaiswal. The thing that's disappointed me about Jaiswal is that first test mein, between the first and second innings, maybe it was because the conditions changed so drastically that he was able to make that adjustment. He's not looked to do that in the next two test matches. I was disappointed in that because over the last year and a half, we have seen him make those small adjustments and break through, right? So I'm still hoping that he can do that. But Shubman Gill is the big one, right? At number three, that's a bigger disappointment because obviously you have such big comparison. But I mean, overall, अगर आप देखो 31 टेस्ट मैचेस में for someone who's supposed to be the future of India's batting, he's averaging 35. Last time he went to Australia, he had such a sparkling, despite all the situations and conditions and injuries and COVID bubbles, he had such a sparkling series, and you expected him to build on it. It's not happened. The kind of shots he's played, yes, he got two peach of a deliveries in Adelaide, uh, but I was really disappointed the way he got out in the second innings because it was literally the same ball. Um, so you learn, right, and you grow. That has been missing from Shubman Gill. So overall, and we had discussed, pre-series that just Jaiswal and Gill have to carry the flag for India's batting. That hasn't happened. So do you see anything changing? Do you see the grinding bit happening? Rishabh Pant, he's disappointed us, but he bats in one particular way, Travis Headway, if we can say it. But that works when your other batters are blunting the bowling. Not always, right? When you're 40 for 5, it doesn't work then. So, Nitin, are
Yeah, it
we.
it
Yeah, go
it
ahead.
won't work. I mean, and I think if why I think Shubman Gill played that shot, if I'm allowed to play the devil's advocate here, is the fact that
Please.
if it's the fact that he got bowled to the delivery that came in from Stark in Adelaide.
Hmm.
So I think what they are petrified of, or at least Shubman Gill is petrified of, with that angle of Stark, is the delivery that is coming in. What happened for
Hmm.
him in Brisbane is that delivery actually went out, and
Hmm.
and he went for it. So I would still, as Rohit Sharma said in his presser today, that they'll keep backing him and they'll keep giving them opportunities. I think what happens, Chetan, and I mean all the panelists here can maybe chip in too, is that when you see a player play pace bowling so well early on in their careers, I think they are bound to get a little bit of a longer rope than the others.
Hmm.
I think the same happened with Rohit. I think because Rohit always had the ability to play pace bowling well,
Hmm.
with
Hmm. Hmm.
Rahul also. I think they kept on getting a rope which many felt was unjustified. But if you are in the team management, you know why you're giving them that rope is because you don't
Hmm.
get players very often who look so comfortable playing top quality
Hmm.
pace. And I think that is why both Gill and Jaiswal I think will get get the opportunity. I also feel that I mean, you showed us a graphic of all the balls that Indian players played. I would maybe if tomorrow or day after, maybe if a stat of all the ball number of balls played by the Australians is also provided,
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
I
we will
don't
get
think
that.
they yeah, I don't think they have also faced too many deliveries. I think we are living at least in Australia post the curators decided to make the wicket spicy and change the ball. I think batting has become very difficult for the top three over there, top three or top four, and I think that is why I think
Okay.
Steve Smith was fulsome in his praise for Labuschagne, Khawaja, and McSweeney for playing 50 balls each by the time he and Travis had got their hundreds.
Which leads to another debate. Ki India bowled. I wasn't on the show because I was on a commentary stint during the third test. But I'll say it now. India bowled pathetically in that third test match, especially the
Yeah,
first innings. Yeah,
absolutely.
and that is another debate. But right now we'll have the last comment from Dopayan. What Nitin said on Shubman Gill and Jaiswal. Just last comment from you, Dopayan, on this whole thing. Can India grind it out? Because the debate will continue tomorrow. We'll be back with the preview. Right now we are out of time. So one last comment from Dopayan.
Just I will just add one thing. Like yesterday I was
Hmm.
listening to an Ashwin podcast, and he said a
Hmm.
very beautiful thing. He said that when you are made to face on play on difficult pitches, you almost play
Hmm.
the first test match, the first difficult pitch in
Hmm.
memory. Almost you keep playing it in loop. It is the same.
Hmm.
You feel in your head that you are playing in a difficult condition. I think it is
Okay.
happening with this Indian lineup in Australia as well. They are having that sense that they are playing on an extremely difficult condition and they cannot just get out of it. Just as it works for spinners in India, it is working for the pacers in Australia. Indian batters are better than that. I really think they are
Hmm.
better than what they have done in this series, and I hope they do better in Melbourne.
Okay, part of the answer that Nitin was looking for is here that Travis Head has faced the majority of their deliveries, but look at the runs that he scored compared to the rest of the Australian top order. But okay, the Travis Head nightmare continues. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. For now, that's all we have. Thanks to Nitin Nayak, Dopayan,
Thank you.
Manuja, and Saurabh for joining us today. Thanks to all the viewers who chipped in with your comments as well. Do subscribe to our channel on YouTube and keep watching us. We'll be back with the preview of the fourth test tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Then goodbye.